your name?
My name is Nick.
Nick, go ahead, sir.
All right, so I'm admittedly not familiar with your work. I kind of showed up to this event late. I was pulled here. I do have a question for you, though.
You have never met my mother, then?
I definitely have
because
not met
she
your
would
mother.
have made you. No, she would make my works known to you. Okay.
Yeah,
she's about a 5-foot Italian lady.
Yeah.
And she'll give you any book I've written.
Your number one fan?
This is my son. Yeah.
All right.
Hi, Mom.
So my question
He's
to
out
you
there.
is one that I ask to anybody when I'm talking about religion, and it's to address a huge paradox I see that nobody seems to worry about. So you are presumably very confident in your views. You are not at all concerned that you might be wrong.
I could be wrong. That's why I continue to read and continue to search.
All right, but
I'm not God. I could be wrong.
You are still very confident in your ideology and your belief system. You are very confident. I mean, I'm assuming since you're up here on a stage, you've written a book. If I walk into any given room, maybe not this one, I will find people that follow Islam. I will find people that are Jewish. I will find people that follow Hinduism. A number of religions, and there have been something like over 500. Probably way more religions in history that have all come and gone. Each of these followers of these various religions is utterly confident that they are correct, that their book has the word, the final word, the word of the Creator, and they will all point to, in my book, this is something that actually happened, this is something that actually happened, this is something that actually happened, so therefore everything is correct, my book is right, I know I'm right. All of these people in the same room are utterly confident that they're correct and the other people are wrong. And to me it seems like a blatant paradox, because I'm assuming you would agree that only one religion can be correct.
Well,
would you agree with that?
If they're contradictory, only one or the other's right or neither are right.
Okay, yes. All right. So my question to you is, how do you address that paradox that all these followers of different religions, including yourself, are very, very confident in their views, enough to be able to assert that people in other belief systems are wrong?
Well, it's not a paradox, Nick. It's just the way truth works.
No, it is a paradox. In that all these people, they're not willing to address the fact that the other people across the table are equally confident. They're equally certain.
What do you mean by paradox? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you mean by that.
I mean that only 5 people at a table, each of them has a book. They're all saying I'm the one that's right because my book said so. How do you address that?
Well, you look at the evidence. That's what you do. That's what we're trying to do here. Just like if I were to say 4 times 4 equaled 15, and you said, well, Frank, 4 times 4 equaled 16 rather than 15, you would be right and I'd be wrong. And if everybody else thought it was some other number than 16, they would be wrong too, right?
Okay, yes, that's correct. But so what types of information then do you use? Again, I'm not familiar. I haven't read your book.
Have you been in here for this presentation?
I have not. I came in late. I'm just curious if...
Oh, well...
I mean, yeah, that's probably what the presentation was about.
Hey, you guys want to hang out another 70 minutes? Huh?
I mean, that's fair
Nick,
enough.
you came in really late, brother.
No, that's fair.
Hey, I'll tell you what. What we just did is we went through 4 questions. Does truth exist? Does God exist? Are miracles possible? And is the New Testament reliable, particularly about the resurrection of Christ? If truth exists, in other words, there is truth, and you would agree with there's truth, if God exists, if there's a being beyond the world who created and sustains the world, if miracles are possible, and we said they were because the greatest miracle has already occurred, the creation of the universe out of nothing, then if Jesus rose from the dead after he predicted it, if he really did rise from the dead, then what we call mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis would call it, the basic essentials of Christianity, are true. And that's what we were talking about here tonight.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure we would disagree on a lot of those former points, but I did miss a lot of the presentation.
I'll tell you what, if I were to give you a book, would you read it?
If you would read a book.
If I would give
you would read
you
one of my
a book,
suggestions too, I'm not going to. If we could trade books and you'd read one of my recommendations, I would absolutely be down for that.
I'm giving you my book, not a recommended book.
Of course you'd give me your book.
A book that my mom would recommend.
Your mom would recommend it because she's your mother.
She would recommend my book. Would you read it?
My mother would recommend all of my papers I've written as well. I'm telling you, if you want to ask me to read a book, I will give you a book as well. And if you want to make a deal,
what book will you give me?
I would give you The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins.
I've already read it.
Okay, and I'm.
Okay, now let me ask you a question, Nick. Nick, can I ask you a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Richard Dawkins believes there is no God, right?
Yes.
And he believes everybody who disagrees with him is wrong.
Just as you believe anybody who doesn't.
So what's the paradox?
The paradox is that only one of these people at the table can be correct.
True.
I mean that
You're saying that Richard Dawkins is right. I'm saying he's wrong. I'm saying that my view is closer to the truth than his.
And the other significant difference in that situation, though, is that Richard Dawkins is not making an affirmative claim. He's not saying that something exists.
Oh, sure he is.
He's not. He's
Richard
not. That's a
Dawkins is saying that materialism's true, that macroevolution is true, that there are no objective moral values.
You're pulling me into other areas of Richard Dawkins' belief systems. I'm only here to discuss whether or not there is a divine creator, a God. You can talk about all these things that Richard Dawkins has said or believes in, right? The way I can pull atheism out of that paradox is by saying that all these people at the table, the metaphorical table I'm describing, are claiming that something exists, something that is mutually exclusive with everything else at that table. Someone like Richard Dawkins would say that there is no reason to believe in any of these claims being made. Not that, for example, I was speaking with somebody earlier, and one common argument I use, people will say, how can you be so confident that there is no God? They'll ask me that, you're saying this, but you're saying there is no God. It's not necessarily that I'm saying that there cannot be one, right? Do you believe in leprechauns? Can I ask you for an answer?
I haven't seen any evidence for leprechauns.
So you don't believe in them?
No, I don't.
Okay, do you believe in fairies? You don't believe in those, right?
Nick, but you see, the God of the Bible is not like a being inside the universe, like a fairy or Thor.
It's not about whether it's a being, or it's about the fact that it's a claim, right? It's a truth claim.
Right.
You don't believe in these things because there is no sufficient. Sufficient meaning stands the test of logic.
Okay.
Empiricism.
Hold on, Nick.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Okay. Whether fairies exist or not is not a logical claim. It's an ontological, evidentiary claim. Okay? Same thing is true with God. It's totally logical that fairies and leprechauns could exist. It has nothing to do with logic. It has to do with is there evidence that such things exist?
It might be a semantic error I'm making.
Okay, yes. So Richard Dawkins says, at a scale of 1 to 7, with 1 being I know there's a God and 7 I know there's no God, he says I'm a 6.5. To his credit, he says that he's not absolutely certain that God doesn't exist, just like I can't be absolutely certain God does exist. I could be wrong, okay? But he is saying that everybody who disagrees with him in his view is wrong. He's saying the same thing everybody is saying when they make a truth claim. Absolutely. It's not a paradox to make a truth claim.
That's not what I'm claiming, though. I'm not saying that to make a truth claim is a paradox. What I'm saying is that everybody at that metaphorical table I'm describing is putting forth similar forms of evidence.
I don't think they are. I think many people believe what they believe because they find it attractive, according to Pascal.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree that the basis of belief ultimately comes from a desire to believe, a want to believe, right? But that's not something we use in determining whether or not a belief is truth, right? I can't say that leprechauns exist because I want to believe in them, or I like to believe in them.
All right, Nick,
that's not sufficient.
I want to give some other people a chance to ask questions who were actually here. So I'd be happy to talk to you later and give you a book.
No, thank you so much for answering my question.
All right, yes, sir. Thank you.